Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge Podcast. My name is Josh. Thank you for joining me today. It's going to be not a snark day. We're talking about the 8-year-old and 13-year-old from Ukraine who are making waves. Lots of articles written about them. My boy, the Prince of YouTube, Sloan, has covered this. A bunch of other channels have covered this. I've been waiting to see how this thing unfolds, to see if it was a big prank and all that stuff, to uncover this crazy ass insane story where parents again need to be put in prison. This seems to be a repetitive thing going on, and it's not getting better. People aren't listening, and it's just getting a free pass, and I'm not for it. My wife just called me, and Macaroni is going to the vet because we think he might have diabetes, and he's so angry right now. But anyway, before we get into this video, obviously we gotta click the spin, we gotta do a little dancey dance, and then we gotta get into the story. Let's do it.
Yeah, baby.
Katie King! Where's my balls? Basketballs, everybody. Where did I put those things? Where did I put my balls? Here's one. Sorry, Katie. YouTubers, let's dance!
Yeah, baby.
Amy Gillingham. Did I miss it, Gus? How do I get worse? I don't get it. Come here, Gus. Come here. Come, Gus wearing a sweater today. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Say hi. Oh, my bubby. Who's my bubby? My bubby? Say hi. Go, woo, woo, woo. Okay, go. Let's go. If you didn't know, tons of articles. Just tons of articles about this. There we go. Okay, so if you didn't know, I've got some notes over here. So there's tons of articles being written about this all over the world. It's making national headlines about this little girl. Her name is, basically is an 8-year-old girl from the Ukraine, moved in with a 13-year-old boy who is a blogger. She has tons of Instagram followers. She's got like 500,000, like, I don't know, tons. They make money. Basically, it's a kid who's being manipulated and obviously exploited by their parents to make money on Instagram and all that stuff, just like Liliana Ketchman, just like so many others like her. And in order to, you know, people are starting to see this thing kind of waver. So people like Danielle Cohn and all these families, they start creating these types of worlds, these types of drama worlds. But when it comes to Danielle Cohn, though, that shit's crazy. This one's a little bit crazy. So, and obviously super illegal. I don't know about Ukraine's laws, because if Ukraine allows a 13 and 8-year-old to get married, then I don't know what's happening here, and we'll check it out in a minute. But basically, they're dating with full support of her parents. An 8-year-old. I have an 8-year-old. If a 13-year-old boy is coming anywhere near my daughter, that 13-year-old boy, I'm going to send my 14-year-old boy to beat him up. That's what's going to happen. Just saying. This is crazy. Obviously, I thought it was just a big, obviously, social media gag. It is a big social media gag. It's not... if they're living together, that's insane. Just the idea that they have pictures of them chained up together, brushing their teeth with her in literally underwear, and him kissing her, this is disgusting. Even if they were both 8-year-olds. Even if they were... doesn't matter. This is nasty, and it's not these kids perpetuating this. It's the parents. Hear me out. This does not happen without parents doing it. So a lot of people are coming at the kids and being like, oh, it's all the parents, everybody. Never anything that I cover on this channel. Yeah, I might call kids a-holes and all that stuff because my kids are a-holes and everybody's kids are a-holes. But none of the kids that I ever cover on here, regardless of what you hear me say, are at fault for any of the things that their parents put out there. Okay, they're all groomed, or they're all being taught to do this, or, you know, pressured into doing these types of things because they make the money for their parents. Jess fam, Jordan Page, like Westlife, okay, Ace Family, LeBrant's, Mike and James, Our Life. All the douchebagginess people that do this use their kids without their consent. And we all know that's the argument. And nobody has ever come back with an argument yet. Fathering autism. His is even worse. So anyway. So her name is milamaxanets, and the influencer kid is named Pavel Pai, okay? They recently announced they moved together to Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, after their parents supported the move. Moved in together like on your own? Okay, my 8-year-old moved on her own. If you opened her fridge, it would literally be birthday cake. There's no way that this is a thing. There's just no way. What's the age of consent in Ukraine? Let's go. 16-year-olds is the age of consent in Ukraine. So clearly this is not a legal thing. It's just a social media grab. It's all it is. It's a big social media grab. That's all it is. According to the local news site Kiev Vgorda, the blogger's parents haven't seen any problems with this. We encourage minors to live together and shoot somewhat provocative content. Parents argue that children should be allowed to do what they think is right, and it's not their responsibility as parents to stop them. Are you happy now, everybody, where we are right now with this idea that kids can do whatever they want? Are we happy with what's going on in the world with the way we're parenting? I had a conversation with someone yesterday who I really enjoy talking to. Somebody, like, this idea that stay-at-home moms are somewhat looked at less as less than. But what we've lost over this idea of inflation and everything else and parents not being able to be home with their children is the idea of classical, traditional parenting styles. And if you guys are wondering how that affects the world, look no further than Instagram, than YouTube, than all these influencers. And here's the scariest part about this, is that they do have stay-at-home parents, these moms, but they exploit their children. Can you literally sit there and say, it's not our responsibility as parents to stop our kids from doing stupid shit? You need to have your children taken away. Because yes, it is your job as a parent to stop your kids from doing stupid shit, like marrying a 13-year-old when she's 8. Again, we all know that this is a big social media ploy because they want the attention because it pays, okay? But this type of attention should not pay. And this type of attention should put parents in jail and get kids. I'm never going to advocate, like, especially when it comes to fathering autism, things like that. You don't want kids taken away. But in some severe cases, the kids need to be taken away. This is one of those cases, okay? Insane. Another problem we have here is that with this girl, Mira, she's an influencer with millions of subscribers all over multiple platforms, which means she's followed by girls likely her own age and likely dudes, okay? So I've been saying her name wrong. I was reading the article. The article calls her Mira. Her Instagram is Mila. So I'm not sure who's getting it wrong, but it's milamaxanets, okay? And her Instagram is literally just full of her. She's a child model, obviously. She's obviously being taken advantage of by lots of people. So it's just taking some time to, yeah, we'll see. We'll get back to that if it does populate. I don't know if it will. I find that where the place I get my stats, my analytics, they are very, very hard to get children's profiles, which is crazy to me because they're even more secretive. In order to get a child's analytics on social media, which you can get anybody's, when you can't get a child's. And to me, that's like, well, it's privacy. Well, then don't put your kid on the internet. So I don't like that. One of the points that a lot of people are making about this story is that because she's an influencer and this kid's an influencer, right? They influence their fans to want to do this and therefore become Pluto bait. They become fodder for predators, right? And they want to live that life because this little 8-year-old girl, well, just think about this for a minute. If I exposed my daughter to this and she saw an 8-year-old moving with a 13-year-old boy, what kind of message are you sending to little 8-year-old girls who follow her? Okay, what's going on in your brain? This serves nobody but the parents. Okay, nobody gets a benefit from this except for Plutos and the parents. Okay, this is very, very detrimental to all of society. We should not be allowing this, and these parents should be in jail. Like, there's just no argument to be made otherwise for that. Okay, because we need to start taking influencers, and that's what I'm doing here, and just not And being like, we need to start a huge anti-influencer movement where we're like, okay, influencers like James Charles, Jeffree Star, all these people who have gotten too big for their own britches, who become influencers to a point where they become no longer influencers. Like, if we're going to talk about Lil Nas X and everything else where he says he's not an influencer, we got to talk about kid influencing children. It's important. And one way we talk about that is by bringing in Lil Nas X. The guy did this video where he's, you know, banging the devil and all that stuff. And I'm like, a lot of Christians are upset. I'm like, why are you upset? It's the devil. Who gives a shit? He's a douchebag. The devil's a douche. So who cares if he's portrayed this way? Why do you care? Like, the devil's an asshole. So, like, yeah, he's going to do this shitty grossness. So, okay. I don't understand why Christians are so up in arms about the devil being portrayed as someone evil when he is evil. Dummies. Anyway, that all to be said, Lil Nas X is coming out with these stupid ass dumb shoes or dumb. And he's got a campaign of people behind him. This is just a provocative campaign to rise a star, and it works for everybody. Miley Cyrus did it. Everybody does weird shit, okay? They do this on purpose. None of this is in their heart. None of them actually think this way. They've got very smart marketing people behind them doing very smart marketing things. But in the end, in the this new age, it's okay to be all crazy and weird with WAP and Lil Nas X banging the devil and like Miley Cyrus, you know, swinging on barbells and swinging on like shit and doing craziness and licking poles and shit and hammers. It's okay for that, but it's not okay to be modest anymore, right? So we're in a culture right now, an anti-culture of anti-tradition and stuff like that. And that's happening throughout the board, good or bad. There's good, there is bad. But when it comes to Lil Nas X, we have to understand that he's coming out and saying, well, your kids shouldn't be watching my shit. Except for no, Lil Nas X, asshole, you went on Sesame Street. You wrote a children's book. You actually targeted children, even though your damn song Old Town Road, which is the shittiest song ever written in the world, okay, still has explicit lyrics in it, and we let our kids listen to that. I didn't, but we let our kids listen to that, okay? You and your record label and your marketing people targeted children. And when you all of a sudden, when you come out later and say, well, Cardi B does this too. Well, you kids shouldn't be listening to my shit. Are you serious right now? Kids are one of the main targets for all of marketing. Do you know why they are? Because they are the future generation of shoppers, of people who are going to purchase your shit. Targeting always happens to the younger generation, not the older one, okay? It doesn't happen that way. And so Lil Nas X was influencer, obviously, to the song he wrote that a lot of kids thought were innocent, that wasn't really innocent at all, okay? By today's standards, anyway, it's not. And then went on Sesame Street, wrote a kid's book, did all these things to target children, then dropped this video without a warning to any parents, without a warning to the fans. Please don't watch this. This is not for kids. After cultivating an audience of kids. The reason this is so dangerous and why it's so dangerous is because kids are very susceptible to being influenced. Kids are really easily influenced. That's why it's easy to groom them. That's why it's easy to do things to them. They trust easily. It's easy for them to learn languages. It's easy for them to learn. They're in a position of life where their brain is being shaped. And so when an adult comes by, an influencer, like a family vlogger for say, like Just Fam or Wife's Life, with a lot of them have teenagers watching their shit and kids watching their shit. When they come along and influence your kids without you understanding what's being influenced, that stuff submersively gets into their brain, even if you don't think so. The music you listen to, the shit that you watch, immerses itself in your psyche. And this becomes a pattern of behavior that you see. The kid listens to nothing but gangster rap and like rap about WAP and killing people and stuff like that. That stuff immerses in you. And you definitely develop those types of things in your psyche. I'm sorry, that's like basic psychological facts, okay? And I'm not a psychologist. I need to bring on Dr. Kirk and talk about this whole thing because this whole idea of kids being influenced is crazy. So going back to Lil Nas X, he drops this video. All these kids see this video, and some parents would be like, "That's cool." No, it's not. Even if you're not Christian, that stuff is for adults. Let adults choose. Right? This is about consent. At some point, somebody's got to be held accountable for the idea of consent. If you've cultivated this idea, if you've influenced children, and you've cultivated them into your fan base, it is on you now to make sure that you're representing them and that you're not doing what Lil Nas X did. So we go back to this girl, Mina, whatever you want to call her, is an influencer, and it's her parents' fault. Now she's influencing other little girls to say, well, she's doing it, I'm going to do that. And they see this, and the parents let them watch this, or they don't know that they're watching it, and that enters into their psyche, and they want to do this thing. Okay, as a parent, from a parenting perspective, the internet we live in right now is the scariest effing place for your children. Okay, and if you're not monitoring what they're doing on social media, you are a bad parent. Hear me out. I'm going to say it again for you in the back who didn't hear. If you don't monitor what your kids are doing online and on their phones, you are a bad parent. And I'm talking up to the age of consent. Do you understand me? If your kids are on TikTok, if they're on Snapchat, if they're on Instagram, if they're on YouTube, and you're not monitoring everything that they're posting, you are terrible. Now, I understand that kids can get around these things. I do get it. But if you're not actively talking to them about the ramifications of what's happening, and I'm not saying say don't do any of these things. I'm saying monitor it and learn with them and teach them what is appropriate, okay? Because what's happening right now is we're moving to a point where what we used to think was inappropriate now is like, if you don't do this, you're a hater or whatever the case may be, right? We're entering really dangerous territory as parents. We're at a pivotal moment in time where the ball is swinging from anti-PC culture, right? From super political correctness, and we're swinging right back to being freedom of speech, and you're going to see this massive swing. Just watch TikTok for the emerging generation of teenagers and what they're talking about with things like super straight, with things like sex-based rights. They're starting to change, and they're not allowing teachers to shape them into who they're going to be. They're not being influenced so bad because it's changing. But we're in a place right now where parents are letting their kids choose what gender they want to be at 4 years old, okay? Instead of doing puberty, like I'm not saying don't let your kids be who they want to be. I'm saying, how about you just let them do what they're going to do without, we're in a place where parents are doing puberty blockers, where they're saying, my kid plays with dolls and now they are definitely a female if they're a boy, born male, and all this stuff. And I get it. I want to make sure I come across that if your kid, let your kid be who they're going to be. Don't put any like boundaries on who your kid can be as far as their identity is concerned. But don't start pumping them full of drugs and doing everything else because you think that's where we need to be. Let your kid grow up. Let nature take its course. Because if this is inherent in us, like a lot of you think it is, then let nature take its course. You could never see a video like that back in the day, and now you're seeing it and it's completely normal. What we're doing here is what the world is doing. It's big tech, what politics, what all these big influencers like the billionaires of the world, the people who own big tech, all these guys, they're allowing this stuff on their platforms because we're in this position where they want this to happen. Everybody, Pizzagate, all this, you're a conspiracy theorist. I don't even have to wear a tinfoil hat to see what my eyeballs are seeing every single day on social media platforms like Instagram. This girl is on Instagram, okay? Instagram hosts her profile. She's 8 and is married to a 13-year-old and takes provocative photos as an 8-year-old, and Instagram's like, cool. But if you're a conservative or you're Antifa or whatever, you have these fringe views, which is fine, have fringe views. Not fine, but have them. You're gone. If you're a conservative, you're gone. If you say that I don't want biological men to compete with my biological daughter, gone. But you can overtly sexualize your 8-year-old on Instagram, thumbs up, and we won't delete it. I had hundreds of people complain about Liliana Ketchman's profile, and I have so many screenshots of Instagram saying all good. But if you literally saying no, we have no problem with this. We have no problem with a 12-year-old dressing with fishnet stockings, provocatively posing on our platform. All good. But if you complain about a post that says, oh, I don't like this political viewpoint, they will delete that shit like that. Look at our priorities, everybody. Big tech is the problem. And I know I enjoy the platform myself, but at least I'm allowed to speak for now. The problem with this stuff is that this is becoming normalized, and big tech is allowing it to be normalized. TikTok is literally the only one. Can you imagine this? Chinese-owned TikTok is the only app, the only social media platform right now that's actually doing anything against underage people. A Chinese-owned, communist-owned app. Think about it. They're taking into consideration child's privacy, over-sexualization, and underage consent and all that stuff more seriously than Canada and the USA, one of the two most developed Western countries in the world. Okay? More seriously. A Chinese communist government. What does that tell you, everybody? I know I went on a rant there, but this is important. So apparently they moved in together, the capital Ukraine. Their parents support the move. It's stupid. More and more people are asking authorities to intervene, and I think this is going to blow up. I think we need to keep talking about this. We need to continue this conversation so that these kids are They have to be safe. They have to be safe. She has almost 500,000 followers on Instagram, and her boyfriend has 40,000. It's a pretend ritual encouraged by their parents, and they believe the story generated a lot of income for social media. And that's what everybody knows. They did that for social media influence and clout. And but their mom is like this. These parents need to be put in jail. If you do this to your children, guys, I cannot express this enough. Influencers, family vloggers. A lot of people still come at me. They're like, "Why do you hate them people who do stuff?" They're not. Listen to me. What family vloggers are doing is exactly the same as this. To a degree, but it definitely lives on a spectrum. Okay? If you look at people like Shannon Rose, who just had babies, who exploits even the smallest thing, like they took my baby away and kind of call her husband, and clickbait the shit out of that when she just went to the other room. You got people like Jess Fam, who you watch as her kids get older, she's going to start exploring more crazy, overtly sexualized things with her children if she hasn't already started with the period stuff and all that stuff. The Weiss life, period kits, bra shopping, bathing suit shopping, okay? Our life, bathing suits, inappropriate conversations, teaching their kids about insane fundamental Christian beliefs. All these things are influenced. They're out there in the world. LeBrant's emotionally abusing abusing their daughter, tricking them into thinking her dog is gone, and pranking their children. Okay, Ace family, just terrible ass parents all over, and just using their kids. If these people, like, yeah, this on the spectrum it lives. Micah, rehomes an adopted kid from China because she didn't want, it was too hard for them. Obviously, the worst thing can ever happen. Parents like this, and Lillian Ketchum's parents, and everybody else who exploit their Jennifer Cohn with Danielle Cohn, all these people who exploit their kids sexually should be put in jail. I cannot believe we live in a world where people are like, cool. Politicians are like, yeah, it's okay. They're not a hill worth dying on. This is a hill worth dying on every single time. And so I will not stop snarking. Okay? I'm not going to stop having some fun, making fun of these people because of this reason alone. You don't think that Jess Fam, Shannon Rose, when Shannon Rose's kids are old enough, you don't think they're going to overtly sexualize their children as they get older? You're wrong. Because that's all they have next. It's being fodder for Plutos. Because that's where they go. That's what happens. And all you need to do is go to Weiss Life, okay? All you have to do is go to FizzFam. All these channels with teenage daughters where they talk about period kits, shaving your legs, bra shopping. Look at their most watched videos and tell me what pops up. Go do it yourself. Go to the Weiss Life right now and go search by most popular. Okay, it's going to be some Chuck E. Cheese shit, and then it's going to be something about her mouth. Then it's going to be something about shaving her legs. Then it's going to be something about bra shopping. Then it's going to be something about period kits. Okay, it's not about like we went to Disney and we cooked bacon bits and shit. It's about their daughters being overtly sexualized on the internet. And those are the most watched. Why are they the most watched? Because this is where predators come. This is where Plutos come to get what they need to get legally. And if the parents are serving it up on a silver platter. Stop this bullshit. I'm re-upping. Every effing family vlogger is just doing this to some degree or not. Even if they're not overtly sexualizing their children, they're still doing this. So that's my rant. Holy, this shit bugs me, and I know it bugs you. And so let's continue to talk about it. I don't know if any of my fans live in Ukraine. If there's a CPS type of people you can call, get these kids out of their parents' hands and their clutches, and they're disgusting. If I knew in my family, in my circle of parents, a parent who was doing this, there is absolutely no way, one, I would be friends with them, and two, that I wouldn't try to get the authorities to get their kids taken away. I'm sorry. This is super bad. How do you even get to this level where you're like, think that this is okay? How do you get here? I have an 8-year-old daughter. I could never even imagine anything like this for her. Never ever I would never wish this on my worst enemy's 8-year-old daughter. This is crazy. And the only people benefiting are Plutos and the parents. The kids are the ones going to suffer in the end. I know you're there with me. So, how do we get this message out there? Follow me on Instagram. Help my voice to grow. Thank God Sloan's covering this. Thank God a lot of thank God a lot of commentary channels are covering this. This is the big one. Like, we got to keep talking about this one. This is an important one because it just elevates all the stories about kids being exploited. And so we have to keep talking about this. So follow me on Instagram. That is how my voice does grow. Take a deep breath. You're important. You are valuable. This message and this movement is really important. The louder it gets, the safer kids are going to be. So let's get loud. Let's talk about it. Share this with your friends and family and coworkers. People need to be outraged just as much as I am about this. Okay? Just as much as you are. I know you are too when you watch this shit with me. We all need to be outraged because when the outrage happens is when things start happening. People start getting upset, start writing letters, start making moves. Okay? This is crazy. And if she has any sponsorships, absolutely, we're coming after them. It's time to kind of focus on maybe the parents who are overtly sexualizing their teenage daughters and their young daughters in general. Maybe we just need to do an entire series and just focus on them and their advertisements and the people that are supporting them, because that is inappropriate. And as soon as we make that like a taboo thing, advertisers won't touch it. Unless we get out and reach out to them and say, nope, advertisers are going to keep giving them money. And they're going to keep perpetuating it. And then more parents are going to do it because they see these people making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Holy shit, people, be angry with me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Damn it.